O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack. The prize we sought is won. The port is near. The bells I hear. The people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. But oh, heart, 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 oh, the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold and dead. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up. For you the flag is flung. For you the bugle trills. For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths. For you the shores are crowding. For you they call, the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear father, this arm beneath your head. It is some dream that on the deck you've fallen, cold and dead. My captain does not answer. His lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse, nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object won. Exult, O shores, and ring, O bells. But I, with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead.
This is an earthen dam, the temporary grave of 3 civil rights workers, 2 white, 1 Negro, Mickey Schwerner, Andrew Goodman, and James Chaney, beaten and shot to death. Among those indicted for this triple slaying were 6 men identified as members of the Ku Klux Klan. None has been brought to trial. In this automobile, Reserve Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel Penn was killed by a shotgun blast while riding through Colbert, Georgia. Arrested for this crime were 4 Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. 2 Klansmen were tried and acquitted. In a few short months, 5 murders, 13 alleged members of the Ku Klux Klan said to be involved in the killings. The Ku Klux Klan is difficult to estimate. Among its many secrets is the actual membership total. Students of Klan affairs say there are at least 30 to 50,000 active members. But there are probably as many as 1 million or more Americans who are strongly sympathetic to the aims of the Klan, and who, if pushed to a decision, would join the Klan. When a 100% pure white American citizen applies for membership, his application is carefully checked. If accepted, he can then leave what the Klan calls the alien world and become a member of the Invisible Empire. A group of Klansmen committed the most heinous crime short of murder. As a warning to civil rights leaders, they abducted this man and castrated him.
They hit me in the back of the head, told me to lay down, and they all grabbed me, stretched me out. Well, one stood on this arm and one stood on this one, and one caught my leg and spread it apart. Then he got help from the other one, and they spread my leg apart. The boss ordered him to do your weight, and they went to cutting on me. When they got through cutting me, they put turpentine on me. Said I wasn't hollering. Put turpentine on to make it hurt more. I don't believe they're human.
Well, if people would just check the record and see this now, who is leading the Klan and what are they and what do they stand for? That would be a logical question. So take in the individual, what if he be in the Klan or out, check the leadership. Say, for example, we have people was painter contractors. As far as I know, failures. We have people was insurance agents. As far as I know, failures. We have people with concrete business. As far as I know, failures. And such as that just failed out and flunked out, couldn't promote leadership, and just lost out everything they had. And then, well, when they couldn't find nothing else to do, as the fellow said, they made him a Klan's leader.
These examples of Ku Klux Klan activity are not unusual. For the past 100 years, the invisible empire, this self-proclaimed second national government, has reserved to itself police authority and the right to correct what it considers wrong. Although some Klansmen have been apprehended and tried for their crimes, the fact remains that the perpetrators of more than 225 bombings and 1,000 acts of racial violence, reprisal, and intimidation in the last 10 years have not been arrested.
And the poor white man, or more particularly the poor Negro in a small community, he well knows that it's protection at all. The law isn't going to help him because the law is more often than not in the Klan or sympathetic with it in the small southern community.
In our democracy, freedom of speech must be accorded this organization. Klansmen have a right to meet and wear uniforms. If the Klan is a fraternal order, it should enjoy the privileges of other orders. But the truth is that among all such organizations, only the Klan has a history of violence. If some of the initiates are policemen or sheriff's deputies, their fellow officers will not know. If they are jurors, their fellow jurors will not know. Under the cloak of this secrecy, the Klan can take over positions of influence and power. In the 1920s, the Imperial Wizard of Indiana, David C. Stevenson, was indicted on charges of assault and battery, rape, mayhem, kidnapping, and murder, and found guilty. Lawmakers have not ignored the Klan. 22 states have passed laws prohibiting the wearing of masks in public, and 52 southern communities have outlawed masks and cross burnings. But even these laws have been ineffective. Klansmen can still legally wear masks and burn crosses on private property. They still intimidate and harass citizens. We've put up with the Klan for 100 years in this country. How long is it going to take for us to see the end of the Klan?
I don't know when we'll see the end of the Klan.
They go around and collect money. What happens to that money? Where does it go?
Well, as far as we know, it all finds its way in the pockets of leaders. Now, if you know where anything else, when I don't myself as an individual, I just couldn't tell you. Now, we know that they do take up money every rally. Now, we know that. The news knows it. Everybody there knows it. They pass their buckets around and they do take up money. But as far as we know, that's the end of it. We don't have no record of nothing else as far as I know now. Somebody else may know something I don't know, but all we know is people rides around, lives in their motels, drives their Cadillacs, eat their ribeye steak, and laugh at the poor people as they go by.
Whatever happens to the Ku Klux Klan will not finally happen in Washington. It will happen in those small towns of the South whose natural spirit of generosity and justice have been damped and whose leaders have fallen silent. If the Klan prospers, it will draw its strength from such communities. If the Klan falls, it will be because one man and then another in such places have made up their own minds that a free society cannot coexist with an invisible empire. This is Charles Kuralt. Good night.
Congress passes the most sweeping civil rights bill ever to be written into the law, and thus reaffirms the conception of equality for all men that began with Lincoln and the Civil War 100 years ago. The Negro won his freedom then. He wins his dignity now. 5 hours after the House passes the measure, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is signed at the White House by President Johnson. Before an audience of legislators and civil rights leaders who had labored long and hard for passage of the bill, President Johnson calls for all Americans to back what he calls a turning point in history.
We must not approach the observance and enforcement of this law in a vengeful spirit. Its purpose is not to punish. Its purpose is not to divide, but to end divisions, divisions which have lasted all too long. Its purpose is national, not regional. This Civil Rights Act is a challenge to all of us to go to work in our communities and our states, in our homes and in our hearts, to eliminate the last vestiges of injustice in our beloved country. So, tonight I urge every public official, every religious leader, every business and professional man, every working man, every housewife, I urge every American to join in this effort to bring justice and hope to all our people and to bring peace to our land.